Nicolas Berggruen is an investor and philanthropist born in Paris with a dual German-American citizenship. He has an estimated net worth of $3.1 billion, according to Forbes. He's the son of a wealthy art dealer, Heinz Berggruen, who was personal friends with art dealer Pablo Picasso. Nicolas Berggruen turned a $250,000 trust fund into a multi-billion-dollar fortune built on buying up bonds, real estate property, and hotel chains. The press dubbed him the homeless billionaire after he sold off almost all his property to live in hotel chains around the world. He did keep his private jet, which he uses to conduct meetings around the world. He founded a think tank and plans to give his wealth away to charity. Berggruen was recently in Nigeria, and we caught up with him to talk about the global economy, Nigeria, Africa, philanthropy, and the impact of thinkers on society. Mr. Berggruen, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to Arise TV. Can you tell us about your think tank, the Berggruen Institute?
Well, thank you very much for letting me talk to you. The Institute was started some 12 years ago to work on long-term important structural issues. So we work on reforms around democracy, reforms for capitalism, relations between the West and China, and more philosophical and long-term, who are we becoming, humans, in the age of gene editing and AI, where in essence we can self-transform, almost play God. And these are the themes we work on. The reality is that these are the things that concern, I think, all of us, no matter where we are.
Now, you're also pretty much, you're a billionaire, obviously. You're into philanthropy, using your wealth and expertise to help. Would you say that the fallout, the global economic fallout from the pandemic and the war in Ukraine have called, or rather put more pressure or called more upon philanthropy around the world?
I think philanthropy can always be a help where civil society, meaning the private sector, is not engaged or won't engage, or where governments maybe can't or won't engage or won't be as quick as potentially philanthropy. Philanthropy can be agile, can be independent, but philanthropy cannot really solve the issues at the end. Rarely, I think, can philanthropy carry the entire load. So at the end, you want the engagement of the private sector and of government.
Fantastic. We're talking to you here in the commercial capital of Africa's largest economy, Lagos, Nigeria. What brings you to Nigeria?
Well, I think Africa as a continent is key in terms of where we are going as a planet. And I think that Africa's time in terms of its role as part of the world, but also for itself, is definitely coming. And Nigeria is one of the anchors, the largest country, and it will have potentially more impact than any other within the continent, and certainly will be a bellwether, one way or another, for the continent.
You are very big on ideas. Hashtag on your Twitter page says hashtag ideas matter. Nigeria, as you probably know, has an education problem as far as funding. The United Nations says that I think about 20 million children are out of school. Can ideas be pushed forward in a country where education funding is a problem? Can ideas flourish when there's a deficit with education funding, in your view?
Well, ideas shape us, meaning cultures are shaped by ideas. And no matter who we are, educated, not educated, rich, poor, we are shaped by our cultures. So engaging with ideas and bringing ideas to the forefront, and ideas that change the way we think, the way we act, is actually key. Now, education is obviously not only the way to empower people, but it's also a way to change the ideas and to give people a sense of ownership as to who they are and how to interact with society. So education is not just empowering, but it also gives a degree of independence, if you want intellectual, mental independence, which I think is key and is something that should be almost a human good for everyone.
You mentioned in your answer there about how people think. Arise TV has held a series of presidential town halls with the major candidates running for office in the very pivotal 2023 elections here in Nigeria. I watched an interview that you did, I think 2019 or so, where you said that the biggest impact humanity has had has been from thinkers. Should thinkers be in leadership positions, or should they be in a supporting role, supporting leadership? How do you see it for the role of thinkers?
Well, thinkers are very often good at the very long term. Are they good at managing? Are they good at running things? Are they good at policy? Not necessarily. I think it'd be nice if policy makers think and have a long-term and thoughtful vision for their work. On the other hand, they may not be philosophers, and philosophers may not be the ones managing or best managing policy in terms of the day-to-day of running a city, a region, or even a country. Now, I think the interaction of the two is helpful. The interaction of the two is healthy. But talents are not all in one. And one has to recognize that the people who may be the best leaders may have a philosophical view, may have a vision, hopefully they do, but they're not going to be philosophers. But there are many leaders in the past, if you look at it, who've been great philosophers, from Marcus Aurelius to quite a few other examples. So I would say a lot of the great political figures have been very good thinkers. And you see it from Hamilton to Martin Luther King and others. They've been very deep. So if you can get the combination of a great leader and a thinker, you're going to go a lot further and inspire a country, inspire citizens, and inspire others to follow you and to go with you.
Fantastic. You wrote a book, I believe back in 2019, called Renovating Democracy. Do you believe that, and of course you talked about capitalism being one of your themes for the Berggruen Institute, is prosperity an outcome of democracy? And in 2022, do you still think that democracy needs to be renovated?
So democracy is a system of governance. And it's a system of governance that gives a lot of power to individuals. In that sense, I think it's very healthy. Now, the question is how to manage democracy. Because an ideal is one, empowering individuals is part of that idea. But to make it work, you need a system, meaning governance, meaning a way to elect people who will manage, to represent citizens, and you need an administration that will carry out as a service what government has been elected for. So you can't just have democracy on its own without a strong administration, meaning the capacity to put through policies, and you need an executive, meaning the people who have been elected and appointed, an executive that is competent and is really there to serve everyone, not just one political party or a set of more narrow interests. And that's the challenge of democracies, is to empower individuals in terms of their vote, their voice, but at the same time, once in government and as government, to have government be there really as a service for all, a competent and in some ways independent service for all, in the sense of not being influenced by short-term political pressures or winds. Because at the end of the day, for citizens and for a country to function well, you need the competence of government, meaning the ability of government to deliver. One of the things we've done at the Berggruen Institute is develop a governance index that very much focuses on the idea that it's not just what kind of system, are you a democracy, are you an autocracy, but also what is your ability as a country to deliver for citizens, meaning the competence, the capacity, really to govern.
I have to ask you about technology. What does it mean to be human in the age of gene editing and artificial intelligence? Are we somehow becoming less human or facing any risks from advanced technology? How do you see it? How do you see that dynamic?
So technology is a tool, and I think technology is a way to augment us. And we are now on TV. That's really a tool for us, but it does augment our capacity to communicate, to entertain, to, in essence, be with each other. Now, can it be used for good? Yes. Can it be used for less good? Also. Is it powerful? Yes. Is it part of us today? Very much so. Do we even think about it? Not really. It's almost organic. Now, has it made us less human? No. It just has made us different. Gene editing and AI will, I think, have similar roles, but more powerful. And therefore, they can be used like any technology for good or for bad. So we need to understand, and in this case, because of their power to change the nature of us, we need to be even more mindful of what we do, how we infuse AIs or gene editing in terms of the changes or the advances we want them to help us with. So an AI, will the AI be part of us? Will the AI almost be an independent agent? What is the nature of that agent in terms of moral ideas, governance ideas? Will it be just a tool? These are the key questions that we need to address because the technology is advancing very, very rapidly. Gene editing, same thing. Who do we want to be? At some point, we'll be able to modify every embryo, in theory. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Can we do it in a way that's fair, that's empowering, where, as you say, we don't lose our humanity? The real question is not a technological question. The real question is, at the end, a question of wisdom, meaning technology itself is a tool. It doesn't have wisdom. So the question is, can we give it sort of human wisdom? And the question is, do we have wisdom? And if you think about it, 3,000 years ago, were we worse or better than today? It's possible that today we're not better. We think about these things, so we've got to work on ourselves, and the issues that are human issues are going to be solved at the end by humans, not by technology. Technology can be our ally, a tool, but it won't be a replacement, hopefully.
Final question for you. Looking ahead to 2023 and Nigeria's role in the wider African continent, what's your outlook for 2023? What's to come next year for Africa?
I should ask you.
I know,
I think, the world is challenged by a few different things. Number one, the world has broken up. Every culture is going back to itself. China, Russia, I think India. And I think it's actually going to happen also in Africa. So Africa will have more of its own cultural, political, and over time economic identity. But you can see it already today. That is a challenge short term in terms of supply chains. It has driven up inflation. It has made trading more difficult, politics more difficult. So I think next year we'll have challenges, economic challenges, and there will be a slowdown. There is already a slowdown economically. The question is, how bad will it be? I don't think it'll be wonderful. The question is how painful. But the world is changing, and that's not a short-term issue. It's a longer-term fact.
Mr. Berggruen, thank you so much for your time, for talking to us on the Global Business Report on Arise TV. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.